What's the future of this church? What is it? Anybody want to guess? Well, I know there's people here today who are thinking about that a lot. Others of you may be considering it, but you're here, and you're here because probably this place is an important place for you. That's why you come. And today, we're going to hold our annual meeting, and you'll be thinking about where we are and where we're going. This church is coming to a point of transition as my ministry here comes to an end at the end of this year, and things will be changing. This church, in particular, all of Christianity is in a process of change. There seems to be a 500-year cycle that goes on and creates big change in Christianity, and we are at another 500-year point. Who knows what might happen? But things will change, and things will become different, and you will have to go through these changes. Do you remember when you were about 10 years old and you couldn't wait to be a teenager? You remember that? And then all of these changes started happening to you as you became a teenager, and you freaked out, and you took it out on your parents. Remember how that went? Well, that happens because change, even if it's change that you want, change is stressful. Remember that time you decided to change where you live and you moved, and you were happy to move and you were happy to have a new place, but all the work involved in getting there, that kind of change, sometimes you just wish it wouldn't happen. No matter whether it's what you need or want, change is stressful. And of course, there are those changes that we don't want to happen. The worst of these is the loss of a loved one. They say it's the most stressful thing people go through. But changes are going to come, and we're going to like some of them and not like some of them, and sometime we are definitely going to be stressed by them. So I've got something to say about all of that. I'm talking about the changes coming to this church, but you can apply it to any change. And here it is. Whatever it is, it will be all right. Someone said this at a meeting I was attending in which I was full of anxiety. And those words calmed me, and I realized they were quite true. And I want you to hear them today. Whatever it is, it will be all right. Because all of life, we are in the aura of God's love and care, and nothing can take us from that. Now here's what might happen. This church that once had 1,000 members might continue to lose members. It's a dangerous thing to measure a church by how many people or how much money it has. Yet these things are still important. They don't tell you the truth about a church, but they tell you something about it. And it is true that over the past 30 years, this church has lost both people and lost in money. And it might be that this church will never ever again be the large institution that it once was. It could even be that things are going to have to change dramatically for us to continue. We all know a great many churches over the past decade who have closed. We know that there have been several right here in this town. It could happen here. This church could come to a point where it is no longer viable as an institution. And that's a hard thing to think about. But it will happen one day for sure. Because everything changes and everything is temporary. We would be foolish to think that that day would not come. It may be that this church can figure out how to keep going right until Jesus comes back, but then it's going to close after that, because who needs it? But we know that we can't help, we know it's not true. We think things are going to stay the way they are. We always think they're going to stay the way they are. I know that some of you out there think the Patriots are always going to be in the Super Bowl. As an Orioles fan, I can tell you it's not true. There was never any chance that this church would always be here, because everything is temporary. But if this church were to fold, other things would happen first. A continued decline at this church might mean that I am the last full-time pastor here. It might mean sharing this building with others. It might mean changes in our staffing, which we already rely on a great deal of volunteer workers. Maybe we will change our location and give up this building and meet somewhere else. Maybe we'll become more of an online church than a 3D church. And all of that stuff that happens, all of that's going to be hard. And it might even feel like a failure to those of you who have cared about this church and worked hard about it. And my words today might make you feel sad or depressed or even angry. But if all of this does happen, let me tell you this. It will be all right. All will be well. God will be in it and with us. In whatever form this church will take in the future, God will be with us. And you might have to let go of some things, and you might not think you are able to live without them. But you will find that this is, you might still find this place, however, despite all these changes, to be a place of community and compassion and faith. Hasn't this church already gone through the process of change? Hasn't it? Has not this church in its history had at least one dramatic change? Who remembers? Yeah. It happened, and it wasn't the same afterwards, was it? But here we are. It might even be that we will close. That could happen, and that'll be sad. No institution lasts forever. Most don't last as long as we have. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's a possibility out there. Many churches have already gone through this. In the decades after World War II, you know, there was a sudden spike in church attendance in America, unlike ever had happened before. The church attendance dramatically jumped. It seemed like everybody in America started going to church after World War II, and that lasted for about 15 years. And during that 15 years, many churches built and expanded and built for large congregations, but after 15 years of that, it started to decline everywhere. Church attendance went back to what had always been normal, a low level within the population. And here are all these churches with these buildings that are established for many, many hundreds and now serving 100. It's become a problem. And some of them have had to close. Right here in LA, how many churches have had to close here in the Lewiston, Auburn area? It's been quite a number. So, but if that happens, what happened? We would mourn. Some of us would remember. Those of you who are serious about your faith and your life would find some other place where you could work and serve and worship. It would be sad for me if you folks just let your spiritual lives just fall away from you if this happens. None of this future is unknown to God, who has shown us in Christ that God is willing to enter into our sadness with us. And the Holy Spirit would still breathe among us, and we would learn what to do with our lives and how to serve Christ in this world and how to let our faith grow and how to serve the suffering in our community. And above all, it will be all right. It will all be well, and God will be in it with us. Although, this could happen too. We could suddenly see an increase. We could start to advance. That could happen. It could be that we'll begin to see more people, and with them maybe more money as well, come in here. And it could be that this church could begin to grow in influence in its community. I think it could happen. It could be that this church begins to, I don't like to use this word because it gets thought of the wrong way too often, grow. It could become something more than it is. This could happen. A new generation might just find this place to be the place where they want to come and be here. A spirit of Christ might begin to be felt in our neighborhood more than it has in the past, and people might begin to gather here and come here for it. It could be a crisis in the community that draws people back to the message that we have. All of that could happen. This church could start to advance, and if it does, it won't be easy. Many churches have failed because they got an influx of people. Have you ever referred to this as our church or my church? If we think of it that way, we cease to function well. And many churches have found when people arrive, they begin to ask this question: why are these people coming to my church? And that's a dangerous one. And it will have to be dealt with, and people will feel that way, especially that Sunday when you come and someone you don't even know is sitting right in your seat. And I'm tempted to go around and point to all the people who I know exactly where you'll be sitting on any given Sunday, but I won't. All of this could happen quickly, and you will find that you don't like some of the changes that come when a church grows. And when a church does grow, one of the things that happens is it loses people. I heard of a church once that had about 250 members, and it gained 1,000 members in 5 years, and when it was all over, it had 750 members, because the first 250 all left, because it was a new church, and it felt different. And that could happen. This church could advance it, but it won't be easy. And some of you might find it very uncomfortable, but let me tell you this. If it does happen, it will be all right. All will be well. God will be in it with us. The thing is, we don't know what's coming. It might be that this church will just hang on like it's been doing, struggling to make it, but making it, finding new people and losing some people, and it might just be that it could go on like this. We've been here for 192 years. Is there any reason we could not be here for another 192 years? And isn't it entirely possible that 192 years from now, which is what year? Where are our mathematicians? I'd ask Chip, but Chip doesn't do arithmetic. Isn't it possible that in that church meeting 192 years from now, they will be in the exact same spot that we are in now, worrying about whether we're going to be able to hang on? It's entirely possible. Who knows what is going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. Do you? I do know this. The summer of 1970 was a great summer. I had a wonderful time that year. The Orioles won the World Series. I got to go to a church camp in Colorado Springs that was just terrific for 2 weeks. Lots of things happened to me there, but one of the things that happened was I heard a poem, and I don't know how this poem has stuck in my head since then. I think I must have had a recording of it somewhere that I heard again. But I'm going to finish this sermon with this poem that I learned in 1970, and if you want to learn it, I'll teach it to you later. I do not know where I may go from this familiar scene, but Christ is here, and Christ is there, and all the way between. And though I go from all I know to some dim, vast unknown, though long I stay or soon I go, I do not go alone. Amen. All will be well.
You've been listening to a sermon by Reverend Stephen Carnahan, pastor of High Street Congregational Church in Auburn, Maine. If you feel inspired by what you hear, you're invited to join us in person for worship services every Sunday morning, starting at 10 o'clock. Of course, you can always listen to Steve's sermons on the web. New sermons are posted every Monday by midday. Please explore this website for more information about our church, or visit our Facebook page at High Street Congregational Church, UCC, where you'll find the video version of Steve's sermons as well. We hope that God's presence will be known to you every hour of every day. May God's blessings rest upon you now and always. See you next week.